I bet I have hundreds of songs that have never seen the light of day. I write them and they're okay, but I move on, and when I was with Integrity Music all those years, we would grade songs. If 1,000 songs came in, out of the 1,000, maybe 100 were songs that we would look at using. Out of the 100, there were 10 that we would use. Out of the 10, there would probably be one that is a shout to the Lord or a give thanks. I mean, it's just, or open the eyes of my heart. That's just the way it works. So not every song is going to be a hit, but that doesn't mean you stop writing. Just keep writing. Sit in the sermons, like I say. Listen to teaching tapes, listen or CDs. Go on the internet and just listen to something that stirs up your spirit. Go to a conference and just have your journal there. And boy, when something, happens, write it down. I'm convinced that those times of ministry, when you're sitting in a time of ministry at your church or just in a quiet time and you hear something, this thought comes to you. I think that's the Holy Spirit giving you a seed, giving you a hook to start writing at just a starting place and think, wow, that's cool. Paul Balash is a great writer, but Paul is great about talking about always listening. If you're having coffee or breakfast with Paul Balash and a waitress comes over to serve us or a server, he's saying, wow, what did you just say? That's cool. I've never thought about that. He's always listening to how people say things. And that's a great way to write those thoughts down. Those are great starters. Sometimes I tell people, sit in a completely empty church. If you can get a place, if you're a music director or a worship leader at a church and you want to write songs, when I could do this, I would get into an empty church, completely empty. Maybe it's early on a Tuesday morning or something, or a Saturday morning, and just sit in the middle of the congregation, sit in the middle of the auditorium and say, what is it, Lord, that you want us to say to you this week? What is it you're trying to say to us? And write those thoughts down, okay? If I were to say to you right now, write down the one thing that you would say to God. If there was something you're thinking right now, what would you write down? Write it down. And some of you are going to write, I love you, Lord. Some of you are going to write, you're awesome, God. And okay, so write that down. And then I'd say to you, now take a moment of silence and just, what do you hear the Lord saying to you? What is it that God says to you? And it may be the same thing. I love you. It may be that. And write that down. But so in songwriting, there's so many things that you can do, but you need to get yourself in that situation where you're hearing, where you're being stirred up in a time of ministry. Have you ever had the thought, I have had these moments where right in a time of ministry, I've had this thought, gosh, if I only had a song that said this. And I think those are those Holy Spirit moments where he tries to give you that seed for a song. You write it down, and then you need to do some work